菜根谭
Tending the roots of wisdom.
41. 不流于浓艳，不陷于枯寂。
41. Not indulging in excessive flamboyance. Not sinking into desolate barrenness.
菜根谭原文：念头浓者，自带厚待人一厚，处处皆浓；念头淡者，自带薄待人一薄，事事皆淡。故君子居常适好，不可太浓艳，亦不宜太枯寂。
白话文注解：一个深思熟虑的人，往往能够善待自己，也能善待别人。他要求处处都丰富、气派、讲究。一个对啥事都看得很淡的人，不仅苛薄自己，也苛薄别人，凡事都表现得冷漠无情，日子过得索然寡味。由此可知，一个真正有修养的人，日常喜好既不宜过分奢侈，也不该过分刻薄吝啬。
41:1. A person who thinks deeply often treats themselves and others well. They seek richness, magnificence, and rigor in everything they do. On the other hand, a person who views everything lightly not only treats themselves harshly, but also fails to treat others well. They display indifference and coldness in everything, leading to a dull and uninspiring life. Therefore, a truly cultivated individual should avoid excessive luxury or excessive frugality in their daily preferences and habits. Translated by Bayandefu.
41:2. If you are an amiable person, you treat yourself well, and you also treat others well. You are amiable about everything everywhere. If you are a casual person, you are indifferent about yourself, and you also treat others with indifference. You are casual about everything everywhere. It follows that, as a noble person, in daily life you are prudent, neither excessively and dazzlingly amiable nor excessively dry and indifferent. Translated by Robert Aitken Daniel W. Wyckoff. 41:3. A man whose thoughts are magnanimous treats both himself and others with consideration. Then magnanimity is everywhere. A man whose thoughts are mean treats both himself and others meanly. Then meanness is everywhere. Therefore, in pursuing his hobbies, a man of noble character should avoid passion as well as indifference. Translated by Paul White.
41:4. A thoughtful person often treats themselves and others well, seeking richness, elegance, and refinement in all aspects of life. On the other hand, someone who remains indifferent to everything tends to be harsh not only on themselves but also on others, displaying a cold and indifferent attitude in all matters, leading a dull and uninteresting life. Therefore, a truly cultured individual should strike a balance in their daily preferences, avoiding excessive luxury as well as unnecessary harshness and stinginess. Translated by Wen Lin.
42. 超越天地之外，不入名利之中。
42. Transcend beyond the realms of heaven and earth. Do not enter the realm of fame and profit.
菜根谭原文：彼负我人，彼绝我意。君子固不为君相所牢笼。人定胜天，质疑动气。君子亦不受造化之陶铸。
白话文注解：别人富有，我坚守仁德；别人有绝路，我坚守正义。具有高风亮节的君子，绝不会被统治者的高官厚禄所收买。人的仁义一定能感动上天，志向坚定才能控制情绪，改变气质。君子超然物外，绝不会向命运低头。
42:1. While others may possess wealth, I will steadfastly uphold benevolence and virtue. When others hold titles and rewards, I will firmly uphold justice. A true gentleman with noble character will never be swayed by the allure of high positions and lavish rewards from those in power. Virtue and righteousness are sure to resonate with the divine, and resolute aspirations can control emotions and transform one's temperament. A true gentleman remains detached from worldly affairs, never bowing down to fate. Translated by Bayandefu.
42:2. Wealth is for them, virtue is for me. Peerage is for them, integrity is for me. The noble person is fundamentally indomitable, a master of destiny, who puts things in motion with single-minded purpose, free from the strictures of ministers of state and free even from the kills and molds of heaven and earth. Translated by Robert Aitken Daniel W. Wyckoff. 42-3, Others have riches, I have a spirit of benevolence. Others have high rank, I have a sense of righteousness. A man of virtue should avoid the fetters of high rank and substantial emolument. Since man can prevail over nature, with a firm will and devotion, a man of virtue can certainly build up his strength and refuse to be molded by the forces that created the universe. Translated by Paul White.
42-4. When others are wealthy, I will adhere to benevolence. When others hold titles and rewards, I will uphold justice. A true gentleman with integrity will never be swayed by the riches and positions of those in power. The benevolence and righteousness of a person will surely move the heavens. With firm aspirations, one can control emotions and transform one's demeanor. A true gentleman remains aloof from worldly matters, and will never bow down to fate. Translated by Wen Lin.
43. 立身要高一步，处事须退一步。
43. Elevate yourself one step in establishing your character, and take a step back in navigating the world.
菜根谭原文：立身不高一步立，如陈李振衣，泥中灌足，如何超达；处事不退一步处，如飞蛾投烛，低扬处帆，如何安乐。
白话文注解：立身处世若不能保持超然的态度，就好像在尘土里抖衣服，在泥水里洗脚，如何能够高雅脱俗呢？待人接物如果不肯退让，就好比飞蛾扑火，公羊用脚去顶撞篱笆，如何能够平安快乐呢？
43-1. If one cannot maintain a detached attitude while navigating through life, it's akin to shaking clothes in the dust or washing feet in the mud. How can one achieve elegance and transcendence? When interacting with others, if one refuses to yield, it's like a swan rushing into fire or a ram butting against a fence. How can one find peace and happiness? Translated by Bayan Defu.
43-2, If the stand you take for yourself and your inclinations are not elevated a little above the vulgar, it is as though you shake out your clothing in dust, or wash your feet in mud. How can you amount to anything? If you do not withdraw a step and take your place in the world, you will be like a moth hurling itself at a candle, or a ram challenging a fence. How can you find ease and comfort? Translated by Robert Aitken Daniel W. Wyckoff. 43-3, Striving to get on in the world without keeping some distance from it, is like trying to shake the dirt off your clothes while shrouded by dust, or like washing your feet in a mud puddle. How can you be free of vulgarities and attain refinement? In your dealings with the world, if you are not good at making concessions, you are like a moth flying into a candle flame, or a ram caught by the horns in brambles. How can you find peace and contentment? Translated by Paul White.
43-4. Navigating life without maintaining a detached attitude is like shaking off dust while still in the dirt or washing one's feet in mud. How can one achieve elegance and transcendence? If one does not concede in interactions with others, it is akin to a wild goose diving into fire or a ram butting against a fence with its horns. How can one find peace and happiness? Translated by Wen Lin.
44. 修德须忘功名，读书定要身心。
44. In cultivating virtue, forget about achievements and fame. When reading, delve deep into the heart.
菜根谭原文：学者要收拾精神并归一路，如修德而留意于事功名誉，必无实益；读书而寄兴于吟咏风雅，定不身心。
白话文注解：做学问一定要除掉杂念，聚精会神，专心致志在一个目标上。如果在修养品德的时候，仍在计较功名利禄，必然不会有什么高境界的真实造诣。如果读书只对吟咏诗词感兴趣，那学问必然显得肤浅而缺乏深刻的心得。
44-1. In pursuing knowledge, one must eliminate distractions and focus wholeheartedly on a single goal. Similarly, when cultivating virtues, if one still concerns oneself with fame and fortune, one cannot attain genuine heights of virtue. Likewise, if one's interest in reading only lies in composing poetry, their pursuit of knowledge will appear shallow and lacking profound insights. Translated by Bayandefu.
44-2, a scholar should gather up spirit and energy in single-mindedness. If your quest for virtue is for reasons of fame and fortune, you will never amount to anything. If in scholarly endeavors you indulge in fashionable verse and stylistic flourishes, you cannot attain depth and stability of mind. Translated by Robert Aitken Daniel W. Wyckoff. 44-3, a man who pursues learning must collect his scattered thoughts and concentrate all his mental powers on his studies. In the cultivation of virtue, if his aim is simply to gain wealth and fame, then real ethical improvement becomes impossible. In pursuing scholarship, if his interest lies merely in reciting poems and rhymed verses, then a deep understanding of his subject of study becomes impossible. Translated by Paul White.
44-4. In scholarly pursuits, it is crucial to eliminate distractions, focus wholeheartedly, and be dedicated to a single goal. When cultivating moral character, if one is still preoccupied with fame and fortune, it is unlikely to achieve genuine and elevated states. If one's interest in reading is limited to the appreciation of poetry, their scholarship will appear superficial and lack profound insights. Translated by Wen Lin.
45. 真伪之道，只在一念。
45. The path of authenticity or deceit lies in just one thought.
菜根谭原文：人人有个大慈悲，唯魔徒贵无二心也。处处有种真趣勇，金屋茅舍非二谛也。只是欲避晴风，当面错过，便咫尺千里矣。
白话文注解：每个人都有一颗大慈大悲的心肠，维摩诘菩萨与屠夫刽子手的真心原本没有两样。世间到处都存在着合乎自然的生活情趣，不因富丽堂皇的高楼大厦或简陋的茅草屋而有差别。只可惜人心经常为贪欲所蒙蔽，被私情所封闭，从而错过了真正的生活情趣，结果造成差之毫厘谬之千里完全不同的局面。
45-1. Every individual possesses a heart of great compassion. The true nature of Vimalakirti and that of a butcher or executioner were originally no different. Throughout the world, there exist natural delights in life, unaffected by grand palaces or humble thatched huts. Regrettably, human hearts are often clouded by greed and obscured by personal attachments, causing them to miss out on the genuine pleasures of life. This can result in a situation where a small mistake leads to a completely different outcome, as if 1,000 miles were in between. Translated by Bayandefu.
45-2, every one of us is endowed with great mercy and compassion. The sage Vimalakirti and the executioner are not of two natures. Every place has the potential for flavor and zest. The mansion and the thatched hut are both built on the ground. However, if greed obscures and blocks our sympathies, even though we come face to face with mercy and compassion for a moment, we are nonetheless off by 1,000 miles. Translated by Robert Aitken Daniel W. Wyckoff. 45-3. Everyone possesses the capacity for great mercy. The Saint Vimalakirti and butchers and executioners alike have this capacity. Everywhere in the world can be found the same genuine mood that accords with nature, be it in a magnificent mansion or a humble cottage. It is just greed that destroys the capacity for great mercy, and fleshly emotions that lock up the genuine mood. Men miss the way to salvation when such an opportunity stares them in the face. A single step in the wrong direction leads them as far from the right path as if 1,000 miles intervened. Translated by Paul White.
45-4. Every person possesses a heart full of great compassion. Originally, the sincere hearts of Vimalakirti Bodhisattva and the butcher or executioner are no different. Everywhere in the world, there exists a natural charm of life, unaffected by the grandeur of high-rise buildings or the simplicity of thatched huts. Unfortunately, the human heart is often obscured by greed, closed off by personal attachments, and thus misses out on the true charm of life. As a result, situations that are seemingly vastly different arise from minute misunderstandings. Translated by Wen-Lin.
46. 道者应有木石心，名向须臾云水去。
46. Those who follow the Tao should have a heart like wood and stone, while cultivators should embody the charm of clouds and water.
菜根谭原文：进得修道，要革木石的念头，若一有心现，便趋欲境；既是经邦，要断云水的去涌，若一有贪着，便坠危机。
白话文注解：凡是注重德业、修身养性的人，必须有一种木石般坚定的意志。若对外界的荣华富贵有所羡慕，那就会被物欲所困惑。凡是治理国家、服务社会的政治家，必须超然物外，有一种宛如行云流水般的淡泊胸怀。假如起了贪婪名利的念头，就会陷入危机四伏的险恶深渊。
46:1. Those who emphasize virtue and self-cultivation must possess an unwavering will akin to that of wood and stone. If they admire external wealth and splendor, they risk being ensnared by material desires. Likewise, politicians who govern nations and serve society must maintain a detached and serene mindset, like the flowing of clouds and water. If they succumb to the temptations of greed and fame, they may find themselves in a perilous abyss. Translated by Bayan Defu.
46:2. In practicing virtue and pursuing the Tao, you will need to keep wood and stone as your models, for once you feel envious of another's fortune, you become covetous. In managing affairs of state, you will need to conduct yourself with the sensibilities of a monk, for once you feel acquisitive, you fall into danger. Translated by Robert Aitken Daniel W. Wyckoff. 46:3. Self-cultivation requires a mind impervious to outside allurements, as if it were made of wood or stone. Tempted by profit and fame, one will fall a victim to greed. One who wishes to save his people and benefit his country must have the temperament of a mendicant monk. One who seeks fame and wealth will be surrounded by hidden dangers. Translated by Paul White.
46:4. Those who emphasize virtue, professionalism, and self-cultivation must possess a resolute will akin to wood and stone. If they harbor admiration for external fame and wealth, they may be ensnared by material desires. Politicians governing a country or serving society must remain aloof from worldly matters, cultivating a serene and detached mindset like flowing clouds and water. If they entertain thoughts of greed and fame, they risk falling into perilous abysses. Translated by Wen-Lin.
47. 善人和气一团，恶人杀气腾腾。
47. Good people exude harmony, while malicious individuals emit a threatening aura.
菜根谭原文：吉人无论作用安详，即梦寐神魂无非和气；凶人无论行事狼戾，即声音爱语浑是杀机。
白话文注解：一个心地善良的人，不论言行举止都极镇定安详，甚至就连睡梦的神情也都洋溢着一团和气。反之，一个性情凶暴的人，不论做什么事都手段残忍狠毒，甚至就连在谈笑之间也充满了恐怖的杀气。
47:1. A person with a kind heart exudes tranquility and composure in their words, actions, and demeanor. Even in their sleep, they radiate a sense of harmony. On the other hand, an individual with a violent nature employs cruel and ruthless methods in all their endeavors. Even their casual conversations are imbued with a chilling aura of aggression. Translated by Bayan Defu.
47:2. The righteous person carries on circumspectly and serenely whatever happens, and is undeviatingly harmonious even when asleep and dreaming. The malevolent person lapses into violent behavior instead of discussing things, and betrays anger even while speaking musically with laughing words. Translated by Robert Aitken Daniel W. Wyckoff. 47:3. Not only are the actions and words of a good man peaceful and serene, even when asleep his facial expression is full of goodwill. As for the bad man, not only are his actions evil and violent, even his speech and voice betray murderous intent. Translated by Paul White.
47:4. A person with a kind heart exhibits a calm and serene demeanor in both words and actions. Even their sleeping expression exudes a warm and amiable aura. Conversely, a person with a violent disposition employs ruthless and malicious methods in all endeavors. And even in moments of laughter, there is a terrifying air of aggression. Translated by Wenlin.
48. 欲无惑于昭昭，勿得罪于明明。
48. A true gentleman seeks to avoid offense in the visible realm. He must first avoid transgression in the unseen realm.
菜根谭原文：肝受病则目不能视，肾受病则耳不能听。受病于人所不见，必发于人所共见。故君子欲无得罪于昭昭，必先无得罪于明明。
白话文注解：肝脏染上疾病，眼睛就看不清；肾脏染上疾病，耳朵就听不清。病虽发生在人们所看不见的内脏，但病的症状必然呈现在人们所能看见的地方。所以，君子想要在公众面前不出现过错，必须在隐微处下真功夫。
48-1. When the liver is afflicted, the eyesight becomes unclear. When the kidneys are affected, the hearing becomes muffled. Although the illness occurs within the unseen internal organs, its symptoms inevitably manifest in visible ways. Therefore, a noble person aiming to avoid mistakes in the public eye must cultivate genuine efforts in the subtle aspects of life. Translated by Bayan Defu.
48-2. With a liver ailment, vision fails. With a kidney ailment, hearing fails. Disease is contracted in a part of the body where it is invisible, and manifests where it is apparent to everyone. Thus the noble person will not wish to have wrongdoing out in the open, and will determine from the start never to transgress invisibly. Translated by Robert Aitken Daniel W. Wyckoff. 48-3. When the liver succumbs to disease, the eyes become dim. When the kidneys are disordered, the hearing becomes impaired. Although the root cause of the trouble always lies hidden in an undetected place, the symptoms are invariably there for all to see. Therefore, if a virtuous man does not want his faults manifested in places where all can see them, he must first ensure that there is nothing amiss with him in places hidden from the public. Translated by Paul White.
48-4. When the liver is afflicted with disease, the eyes lose clarity. When the kidneys are affected, the ears lose their ability to hear clearly. Although illness occurs within the unseen internal organs, its symptoms inevitably manifest in visible ways. Therefore, if a noble person wishes to avoid making mistakes in public, they must put sincere effort into even the subtlest aspects of their conduct. Translated by Wenlin.